You ever notice how quiet liars get when truth starts dripping through the cracks they built themselves? Like water seeping through rotten walls. See, they thought if they smiled enough, dressed up the lies in perfume and promises, if they laughed at your questions and made you feel guilty for doubting, then maybe, just maybe, you'd never see what was behind the curtain. But the problem is, truth don't stay buried. It rots, it festers, it leaks, sweetheart. And you finally smelled the stink, didn't you? Took you a while. You wanted to believe in the fantasy. You fed it. You let them lie because the truth, well, that would have hurt more than pretending. But pretending kills something inside you slow. Makes you second guess everything real until you forget how it even feels. So now you're here, raw, betrayed, a little broken, maybe. But listen to me carefully. That pain, it's the best thing that ever happened to you. It means your eyes are finally open. It means their mask fell off. And now you're looking into the face of the very thing that used you. Be thankful, 'cause most people stay blind forever. Let me break it down. They hid it, yeah. Oh, they were clever. They didn't come at you with red flags waving in your face. Nah, they came with smiles, with soft hands, with "I'd never do that to you, and trust me." They came with just enough affection to keep you starving but never full. They wanted to keep you chasing, because once you stop running after them, you realize they ain't moving forward at all. They just stand still, empty. See, the liars, the fakes, the users, they don't know how to love. Not really. But they're damn good at mimicking it. They study you. They watch how you break. They feed off your loyalty, twist it into a leash, and call it connection. And by the time you see the cage, it's already locked. But you cracked it open. You saw the glitch. Maybe it was a slip. A moment they forgot to smile. A look that lingered a second too long on their phone. A silence that felt like a slap. That was the leak, the drip. And once it starts, you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel it. You just sit there, watching everything you believed in bleed out. Now I know what you're thinking. Why me? Why'd they play you? Why lie to someone who only gave? Someone who would have stayed loyal to the grave? Oh, that's easy. 'Cause you were real, and real people, they scare the fakes. You walk in with truth in your chest, love in your hands, and loyalty in your blood. And to them, that's a threat. That's dangerous. So they smile, fake it, string you along until they can drain all they can from you, and then pretend like you were the problem. That's the game, kid. That's the performance. But now the lights are off, the stage is burning, and the truth standing there naked, ugly. And guess what? It ain't your fault. It never was. They didn't lie because you weren't enough. They lied because they never were. So here's where it gets good. Here's where you rise. not with rage, not with revenge. Though I know that burn is tempting. No, you rise in silence, cold, focused. Let them keep lying to others, chasing new puppets to play with. You rebuild. You clean your wounds with the truth they feared. You stop apologizing for giving everything to someone who deserved nothing. You turn that pain into discipline, that ache into action. And you never forget. Not to stay bitter, not to stay angry, but to stay sharp. See, when they hid the truth, they thought they were smart. But truth, it don't stay buried. It creeps, it spreads. And when it leaked, you didn't just find out who they were, you found out who you are. And that, my friend, is power. You ever watch a wound close without treatment? Skin heals, sure, but it heals wrong, twisted, inflamed, scar tissue where there should have been proper care. That's what happens when you try to move on from betrayal without facing it. That's what happens when people say, just forget it or don't let it change you. No, let it change you. Let it scar. Let it twist something inside you, but do it on your terms. That's how you build armor. You want to heal? Then stop romanticizing the infection. Stop rewriting the past just to make it hurt less. Face the lie. Hold it. Study it like a weapon. See, the people who lied to you, they weren't confused. They weren't struggling. They were comfortable. Comfortable watching you bleed loyalty while they kept score. They knew exactly how far they could go before you'd break. And when you didn't break fast enough, they pushed harder. So don't sit there asking, was it real? If you have to ask that, it wasn't. Real love doesn't hide. Real loyalty doesn't come with terms and conditions. And real people, they don't need to be exposed. Their truth shines without a spotlight. But the ones you dealt with, they needed darkness to survive. You were the light. That's why they dimmed you. Let me put it this way. Have you ever wondered why people fear silence? Because silence is where truth lives. That's why they filled your head with noise, promises, excuses, justifications, distractions. Kept your mind spinning so you wouldn't pause long enough to connect the dots. And the second you did go quiet, they panicked, they accused. They said you were acting distant, being dramatic, overthinking. No, you were waking up. That silence, it made the truth scream. And the truth said this: you were the only one who was real, the only one who meant what they said, the only one who was all in. And they weren't even playing the same game. They were counting on your softness, your patience, your hope that maybe they'll change, but they won't. People don't change when they're comfortable. They change when they lose access. You walking away? That's the consequence they never expected. And when you go quiet, that's when their mind starts to turn on itself. 'Cause suddenly, there's no more distraction, just guilt, regret, and oh, how they'll hate you for that silence. because it says everything they tried to bury. Let me tell you something dark, but true. People don't miss you for who you are. They miss you for what you gave. And when you stop giving, when you stop showing up, checking in, carrying the weight, that's when they remember. Not because they suddenly value you, but because the well ran dry, and you were the water. And that's when the real truth leaks through. That's when the flashbacks hit them, not of your face, but of the peace you brought. The stability, the loyalty, the little things you didn't even think mattered, now echo in their head when you're gone. And they don't know how to recreate that. They don't have it in them. Because people like that don't build, they take. So let them keep searching. Let them keep pretending. You rebuild with the pieces they tried to break. And you do it in silence, because silence doesn't beg, it doesn't justify, it doesn't explain. It just watches as the mask they wore melts off in the fire of your absence. This pain, it has a purpose. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't dress it up with fake distractions or quick replacements. Sit with it. Let it burn. Let it teach you. 'Cause when you've been lied to like that, when someone looked you in the eye and chose deception over honesty, you don't go back to who you were, and you shouldn't. That version of you was too trusting, too available, too hopeful. This new version, it watches, it studies, it listens to tone, not just words. It doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't give until it sees proof. That version terrifies the people who once played you like a toy, because they realize they didn't just lose the old you, they created a new one. A version of you that doesn't ask for love. It demands respect. Good. You're still here. That means you're listening. Means something inside you snapped, but in the right way. That break, that crack, that's where the power starts pouring in. Because now you don't just feel the betrayal, you understand it. And understanding is dangerous. It turns victims into architects, survivors into tacticians. And you're done surviving. It's time you started building, but not with their lies, not with their empty apologies or promises they never meant to keep. Number you, build from your own silence, from your own strength. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them a reaction. They want to see if they still control you. Don't give them the satisfaction. That's where most people fail. They try to prove a point by screaming. But you prove your point by walking away without saying a word. See, silence ain't passive. Silence is surgical. You're not avoiding the fight. You are the fight. Quiet rage is the deadliest kind. And when you stop talking, that's when they start to hear everything. The truth echoes louder without your voice in the room. They'll sit with your silence and wonder what version of themselves you finally saw. They'll obsess over the last thing you said. Rewind the moment you went cold. Try to guess where it all went. Wrong, but they'll never admit it was them. That's the catch. Most people who betray you don't regret what they did. They regret that you found out. They regret losing access to the loyalty they never deserved. They regret that the game ended before they were done playing. So, let them regret. Don't interfere. Don't explain. The more you explain, the more they think they still own a piece of your peace. You think you're being kind by offering closure. Nah, you're just giving them another weapon to use against you. They don't want closure. They want control. They want to twist your goodbye into guilt, make you think you walked away too early, that you misunderstood, that they didn't mean to hurt you. Bullshit. They knew what they were doing. They just didn't think you'd wake up. But you did. And that's the one thing they didn't plan for. You going silent? That's you ending the story on your terms. Now listen to me closely, 'cause this part right here, it's the core of the whole damn thing. The hardest part isn't letting go of them. It's letting go of who you were with them. That version of you that kept forgiving, that kept hoping, that held on longer than you should have. That part of you that saw potential instead of patterns. Grieve that person. Mourn them. They died in the process. And that's okay. Because what comes next, it's stronger, sharper, more focused. You're not bitter. You're educated. You're not broken. You're aware. And once you reach that state, you stop needing closure. You stop needing revenge. You stop needing them to understand. Because their understanding isn't required for your evolution. And don't be fooled. Oh, they'll notice. The silence you give them will haunt them louder than any confrontation ever could. Because people like that, they expect anger. They expect screaming. They're used to chaos. But peace, distance, calm, detachment, that's what unravels them. They'll start questioning everything, wondering who else sees through them now. If you told others, if they're losing grip on the mask they wear, that's the power of quiet exits. You're not burning bridges. You're letting them collapse under the weight of their own lies. And when they come back, and trust me, they will, with "I've changed," or "I miss you," or "You're different now," you won't even flinch, because they're right. You are different. You're everything they tried to destroy, and you're still standing. That's the irony, isn't it? They tried to break you to feel powerful, but in breaking you, they made you immune. Immune to fake smiles, to half-truths, to sweet words without action. They made you someone who doesn't just survive lies, but sniffs them out before they even form. You became the thing they can't fool anymore. And now, they fear that. They fear the version of you that doesn't need them, doesn't miss them, doesn't react. You don't need closure. You are the closure. Good. Stay here. Don't run from it. I know the fire still burns under your ribs. I know your mind still replays the moment you saw the real them for the first time. The version they kept tucked away behind fake affection and perfect timing. That sting, that's truth. And truth don't come dressed in soft apologies or beautiful words. It shows up cold, ugly, unforgiving. But here's what most people don't get. Truth doesn't just expose others. It exposes you. That's why it hurts. Because once you see the lie, you realize just how long you danced around it. You remember the nights you stayed up making excuses for them, the times you swallowed your instincts to keep the peace. You remember every time your gut whispered, "This isn't love," and you told it to shut up. That's where the war starts. Not between you and them, but between you and the version of you that wanted to believe so bad. You ignored what was right in front of you. But now you've seen it, felt it, lived through it. And guess what? That means you're dangerous now. You know what real power is? Not control, not dominance, not revenge. Real power is walking away quietly and letting the silence rot their ego. Because deep down, they didn't expect to lose you. No matter how bad they treated you, they thought you'd always be there, waiting, chasing, fixing. That's what fakes depend on. Your softness, your loyalty, your hope. They think the more they hurt you, the more desperate you'll become. But they never considered what would happen if you stopped caring. If the switch flipped, if the tears dried, if the one who always forgave suddenly didn't. That's the shift they fear. Because when you finally go cold, it's not out of hate. It's because you outgrew the version of yourself that needed their approval to feel enough. And trust me, they felt that shift. You don't need to say a word. They feel it. They feel it when you stop checking in, when you don't reply with the same warmth, when your eyes stop looking for them in the crowd, when your name doesn't light up their screen anymore. That's when the panic sets in. Not because they miss you. No. They miss the access, the attention, the security, the illusion of power. See, people like that don't love, they feed. And when you starve them of your presence, they start losing weight. Their ego starts collapsing. Their lies stop working. And your silence becomes the loudest thing they've ever heard. It says, "I see you now, and you are nothing without my attention." And don't be surprised when they come crawling back. They always do. But not because they've changed. Not because they finally value you. They come back because their new toys don't hit the same. Because no one else tolerates their nonsense with the same patience. Because they want to see if you're still weak enough to forgive what they were never sorry for. And if you let them, they'll do it all again, just smarter this time, colder, quieter, So remember this, their return isn't proof they care. It's proof they lost control. That's why you don't open the door again, not even a crack. Because the same knife that cut you doesn't get a second chance just because it looks shiny in the light. Now here's the part no one tells you. Healing doesn't feel like sunshine and smiles. It feels like rage, like isolation, like remembering who you were before they convinced you to shrink. And the truth? It's brutal. Because the minute you stop performing for love, you realize how many people were only clapping when it served them. But that's the gift of betrayal. It wipes the stage clean. No more acting, no more pretending. You finally stand alone, naked, in the truth, and say, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. And the ones who leave, good. Let them. The ones who stay, they'll never ask you to bleed just to feel whole. This is where it begins. Not with a scream, not with a breakdown, but with a breath, a pause, a slow, quiet walk into the version of you they never thought would survive. And the most beautiful part, you're not just surviving. You're rebuilding, smarter, colder, sharper. You're not looking for revenge. You are the revenge. Now this is where it gets real. This is where most people break and where you begin to sharpen. Because when the smoke clears, when all the noise dies and the messages stop and the fake apologies fade, you're left with just one thing. You. No more distractions, no more illusions. Just you and the truth sitting across the table, staring at each other. And for the first time, you realize that the pain didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It carved through every lie you told yourself to survive. It burned away the weakness they depended on. It stripped your soul raw, and what's left? That's the real you. The version that doesn't flinch anymore, doesn't beg, doesn't need a single damn word to be understood. That's the version they can't reach, can't manipulate, can't lie to anymore. And it terrifies them. You want to know why? Because silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the presence of power. It's you reclaiming your time, your energy, your dignity. It's the weapon they never saw coming. Because, see, they trained themselves for drama, for emotional outbursts, for arguments they could flip to make you look like the unstable one. But you going quiet? That's not just a message. It's a funeral. It's the burial of every lie they ever sold you. And when you walk away without a word, they feel it in their bones. Because now, for the first time, they're forced to face their own reflection, without you there to validate their mask. They'll say you changed. Of course they will. But here's the catch. You didn't change. You returned to who you were before they rewired your self-worth, before they chipped away at your fire and called it love, before they made you feel guilty for having standards. You didn't evolve into someone new. You remembered who the hell you were. The silence isn't you becoming cold. It's you becoming clear. You stopped explaining yourself to people, committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You stopped waiting for people who were never coming back. And when you did, you became untouchable. Let's get something straight. Being silent doesn't mean being weak. It means being strategic. You don't react to everything anymore, because not everything deserves your attention. You don't respond to disrespect, because silence carries more weight than any argument ever could. You don't beg for honesty, because the moment someone lies to you, they've already shown you who they are. You let them talk, let them post, let them pretend. Meanwhile, you build, you create, you rise, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And soon, the same people who thought they were above you will be watching your shadow from below. You know how you win? You win by not needing them, not needing closure, not needing revenge. You win by healing without them, laughing without them, living myths without their validation. And when they check in, when they scroll through your silence, looking for traces of the pain they caused, they'll find nothing. No mentions, no shade, no desperate quotes or sad stories. Just peace, just evolution. Just the version of you that doesn't even flinch when their name crosses your path. And that, right there, is the most brutal punishment. You didn't just survive, you outgrew. You rose so far beyond their reach, they can't even recognize the version of you that remains. They thought they were the main character in your story. Turns out they were just the plot twist. And now you write your chapters in silence, with discipline, with detachment, with purpose. No need for explanations, no need for warnings, just results. And the truth they tried so hard to bury, it leaked, it spread, it exposed everything. And while they drown in damage control, you walk free. They taught you one final lesson without even knowing it. The loudest thing you'll ever say is nothing. Yeah, we're not done yet, not even close. Because the moment you start rebuilding in silence, that's when the real war begins. Not with them, but within you. You see, the world ain't kind to people who choose silence. They'll call you cold, emotionless, arrogant. They'll say you changed, that you're not like before. And they're right. You're not. But what they'll never say out loud is this. They miss the version of you who needed them. They miss the version who answered every late night text, who forgave every silent treatment, who explained every emotion just to avoid a fight. But that version, gone, buried under the rubble of your patience, replaced by someone who doesn't chase closure, someone who is the closure. And here's the cruel truth. Most of them only value you when you're no longer accessible, when your name stops lighting up their phone, when your energy disappears from their life like a ghost, when your silence becomes the loudest reminder of what they lost. That's when they get humble. That's when the fake pride slips. But by then, it's too late. Because you're no longer seeking revenge. You're seeking greatness. And you don't build greatness in front of people who once tried to keep you small. You build it in solitude, in long nights, in quiet rooms where no one's clapping, but you're still showing up, still grinding, still proving to yourself that you never needed them to begin with. People always think silence is weakness because they're too addicted to noise. But silence is lethal. It's where transformation happens. It's where you train, where you plan, where you grow, not for attention, not to make them jealous, but because you finally realized the most dangerous thing you can be is indifferent. See, anger means you still care. Sadness means they still have access to your heart. But silence? That means you've walked away inside. That means you've reclaimed every piece of yourself they once fed on. And once you've tasted that kind of peace, you don't go back. Not for apologies, not for memories, not for love dressed in manipulation. They thought your silence meant you had nothing left to say. But silence doesn't mean there's nothing to say. It means they no longer deserve to hear it. It means you've outgrown the conversation, outgrown the lies, outgrown the version of yourself who thought loyalty meant staying even when your soul was starving. They'll call it ego. They'll call it pride. Let them twist the narrative in private. Let them rewrite history to save face. You don't need to defend yourself to people who saw your bleeding hands and still kept asking you to clap for them. Your silence is the statement. Your absence is the sentence. And the life you build without them, that's the verdict. You want to destroy them? Then don't yell. Don't explain. Don't look back. Just win. Quietly. Powerfully. Relentlessly. Win in a way they never imagined you could without them. Win in a way that forces them to sit in the ruins of their ego and realize you were the prize, not them, not their attention, not their half-baked affection. You were the peace, the consistency, the loyalty. And now they can't even access you. Because you're not angry. You're not bitter. You're just done. And that kind of silence, that's the kind that leaves people haunted. They'll hear it every night. In every what if, every maybe, every I should have. And you'll sleep like a stone, calm, cold, untouchable. So go ahead, keep building, keep grinding, keep vanishing into your purpose. Let them chase shadows. Let them lie to themselves. Let them act like they never cared. The truth leaked through, and that's enough. You don't need justice. You are justice. And every breath you take in peace is a reminder that you survived the kind of love that was meant to destroy you. Now walk like someone they'll never recover from. Because they won't. And you won't even look back. Now lean in closer, because this final stretch, this is where everything shifts. You've made it past the heartbreak. You've walked through the storm. You've tasted the bitterness of betrayal and swallowed the silence like fire. And now we talk legacy. See, this ain't just about moving on anymore. That was phase 1. This is about becoming unreachable, about building a version of yourself so focused, so untouchable, so self-contained that even the ghosts of your past don't recognize the man you've become. You don't just heal, you evolve. You stop living in reaction to what they did and start living in alignment with who you were meant to be before they derailed you with their lies and performances. Let me tell you something real. People love a silent man until they realize silence is where he sharpened his discipline. It's where he found himself. You want to know what scares the ones who broke you the most? It's not that you're angry. It's not that you moved on. It's that they no longer have any impact on you. That their name doesn't shake you. That your world keeps spinning. Faster, stronger, cleaner, without them in it. That's what wrecks them. Not the silence, but what you built inside it. You see, silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of control. The control they never had. The control they tried to steal when they played games with your emotions. But now, you don't even flinch. And to people like them, that's scarier than rage. Because silence says, I'm good now. I don't need to react to prove I survived you. And let's talk about the rebuild, not the cliche nonsense. I'm talking about the gritty, lonely process of remaking yourself from the ground up. The part where you wake up at 3 a.m. with no one beside you but your own damn thoughts. The part where you train while the world sleeps. Where you create while they post. Where you chase goals so hard, you forget what their voice even sounded like. That's where the magic happens. In the unseen hours, in the unshared chapters, in the pain you didn't run from, but used as fuel. That's where you build the empire. And when they finally come around, trying to sneak back in through old doors they used to own, you won't even answer. Not out of spite, but because those doors are gone, burned, buried under the foundations of a life they never helped build. You want silence to work for you? Then stop using it like a shield. Start using it like a sword. Cut off everything that doesn't match your energy. Every habit, every fake friend, every memory that tries to guilt trip you into softness. That silence, that's your kingdom now. You reign in it. You rule it. You speak only when it adds power. And the rest of the time, you build, you train, you watch, you calculate, you let the world underestimate, you let them think you've gone soft. Let them think you're not the same. They're right. You're not. You're better. You're surgical. You're the storm they laughed at before it hit. Because here's the truth they'll never admit. They thought they broke you. They were sure of it. And now? Now they're watching you rise, stone-faced, calm, strategic. No announcements, no drama, just movement. Quiet, consistent, terrifying movement. That's the real revenge. Not proving them wrong, but living in a way that makes their entire existence irrelevant. Their regret, that's theirs to carry. You don't touch it. You don't respond to it. You just keep building until the sound of your footsteps haunts the hallways of the past they used to live in. And when it's all said and done, when they whisper your name like a story from another life, you won't feel a thing. No nostalgia, no ache, just peace. Because you'll know the truth leaked through. You'll know their lies didn't last. You'll know you didn't need to scream to win. You just needed to go quiet and never come back. Yeah, let's finish this. Let's close the chapter in a way they'll never forget, even if you never speak a word to them again. Because now, we don't talk about healing. We talk about transcendence. That point where their name no longer even echoes in your head. That point where your silence isn't just a reaction anymore. It's your identity, your language, your weapon. See, when you get to this stage, you're not faking peace. You are peace. And peace doesn't need permission. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need closure. It walks through chaos, untouched. It stares betrayal in the face and doesn't blink, because the man you are now, he's been through hell, and hell didn't break him. It refined him. Let's be clear. People like the ones who hurt you, they don't regret the lies. They regret that you no longer respond to them, that you no longer feed their ego with attention or softness. You see, attention is oxygen to liars, and silence is suffocation. It leaves them gasping in the dark, trying to replay every move, every message, every look you gave them. And while they're busy trying to figure out how they lost control, you've already left the room. The Joker doesn't come back to explain. He doesn't sit down to comfort the chaos. He lets it burn. Because the ones who started the fire don't deserve to be saved from it. Now listen carefully, because this is the part you carry for life. This silence you've chosen, it's not a phase. It's not a temporary defense. It's who you are now. A man who sees through the noise. A man who doesn't talk, he acts. Doesn't react, he plans. You don't move to prove a point. You don't chase closure in people who lied with a straight face. You already got your closure the moment you realized their love wasn't love. It was control. You already won the moment you chose peace over explanation. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Let them tell stories you'll never correct. That's the price of becoming unreachable. You get peace, but they get confusion. You get progress, they get circles. That's how you become the storm. Not by screaming, not by demanding revenge, but by becoming so distant, so focused, so untouchable, that even their memories of you start to hurt. And you don't do it out of bitterness. You do it out of clarity. Because you finally realized not everyone deserves to know the healed version of you. Some only deserve to remember the one they broke, and to watch from a distance as the stronger version walks in silence without looking back. That's the final form. That's the shadow they can't outrun. That's the consequence they never expected. And if they ever show up again, because trust me, they always do, smiling, apologizing, saying they've changed, you won't even feel rage. You'll just look at them like a stranger who once lived in a chapter you've already burned. You won't need to say no. Your silence will say it for you. And in that moment, they'll realize the truth didn't just leak through. It drowned everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every illusion they tried to sell you. And you walked away dry, calm, clean, unrecognizable. So walk like you've already won. Speak only when it adds value. Never explain what you outgrew. Never flinch when the past knocks. Let your new life be the response. Let your silence echo longer than their noise ever could. Because the truth, it doesn't need defending. It just needs time. And time always leaks it through. And when that final silence comes, the one that isn't about healing or anger, but choice, you'll know you made it. Because when you become the man who says nothing, everyone finally listens. All right, one last descent into the silence. Let's go deeper. Deeper than most people ever reach. Because the final stage isn't loud. It's not some dramatic cinematic triumph where the violins swell and the world claps. Number. The real victory? It's quiet. It's internal. It's when the war that raged inside your chest for months, sometimes years, just goes still. Not because you forgot, but because you no longer care. Not because you healed in the cliché way, but because you bled through the truth so long that pain became just another part of you. Not a weakness, not a wound, a weapon. And that weapon, it's called detachment. Let's make one thing clear. Detachment isn't about being heartless. It's about having a heart that no longer accepts crumbs. It's about having boundaries so high, the same people who once walked through your life, like they owned it now, have to climb. And most won't make it. That's the real shift. You stop giving access just because someone knocks. You stop feeling guilty for putting your peace first. You stop explaining your silence to people who used your voice like a doormat. The Joker doesn't explain his scars. He smiles through them. Why? Because they were earned. And you earned yours too. You ever sit in a room full of people and feel nothing? Not because you're empty, but because you've finally leveled out. Because nothing shocks you anymore. No fake love, no sudden apologies, no random I miss you messages at midnight from people who once ignored you at your lowest. You've seen the pattern so many times, it's no longer betrayal. It's just noise. And you don't react to noise. You study it. You analyze it. You let it talk, and then you walk away. That's power. That's what happens when you've been lied to enough times. You start moving with such precision that your silence feels like judgment. And they feel it deeply, even if they pretend they don't. And let's get real for a second. You're not silent because you're weak. You're silent because you finally realized that some battles aren't worth fighting, that proving your worth to people who never plan to understand you is a war with no victory. So you step back, you breathe, you redirect that energy into you, into your goals, your body, your mind, your future. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop craving justice. You understand that closure isn't something they give you. It's something you become. And when you become it, you stop chasing it. That's the paradox they'll never get. They'll keep waiting for the old version of you to show up. The one that used to over-explain. The one that used to crack jokes to ease the tension. The one that gave chance after chance, even when your soul was exhausted. But that version, dead. That version had to die so you could live, and now you carry yourself differently. Your silence isn't shy, it's strategic. You don't argue, you exit, you don't beg, you build, and they can feel it. That distance, it screams louder than any speech, because silence, real silence, it doesn't beg for understanding. It demands respect. So here's how you stay there. You don't look back, not even once. You don't second guess your silence. You don't romanticize the past. You don't wait for them to realize your worth. If they couldn't see it when you gave them everything, they don't deserve to witness what you become when you give everything to yourself. You stop explaining why you left. You stop proving why you're different. You stop trying to rewrite history in their favor. You just live fully, deeply, relentlessly, with focus so sharp it cuts through every old memory like smoke. And if they ever catch a glimpse of you again, it'll be from a distance they can't cross. Not because you're hiding, but because they're no longer invited. That's the final evolution. The version of you that doesn't yell, doesn't chase, doesn't plead. He just walks, calm, unshaken, with a history full of wounds and a future they'll never be part of. That's how the story ends, not with a scream, but with silence that echoes forever.